Hi guys, I want to talk to you today about the chakras. This is part of my book, a chapter in my book. The book will be called I'm a Fool, You're a Fool. That's one of the titles I've got for it at the moment. If you can come up with another title, that would be great also, to help me out a bit, because I'm a bit stuck. So it's going to be called The Chakras, Modern Culture and the Bible. And I'm not just here slating the Bible, because I do actually read the Bible myself. I was brought up as a Christian, so I'm not about slating the Bible in any sense. Okay. Let me begin by saying that we should not throw the baby out with the dirty bathwater, first and foremost. And this is by no way an attack on Christianity or any other religion for that matter, as I do believe the books of religion can be and should be used as guides for our human development, in particular morality. These books are there to guide us on our journey here, I believe, and I'm not just talking about the Bible or the Quran, but many other religious or spiritual works such as the Gita, the Torah, amongst others. I personally try to practice non-attachment myself, especially to material things, which is important, as it is the attachment to material possessions which limits our belief and our vigour to seek and connect to the higher intelligence. So whether you think that higher intelligence is within you or outside of you, there is a stumbling block to even coming close to gaining that, or a connection of some sort. So I hope you understand what I mean when I say that, you know. So most, if not all, spiritual religious texts speak of love, humility, peace, and non-attachment. And in my opinion, we should all be practicing these very things. So why should we practice these things? Why should we practice a life of peace, humility, non-attachment, and love? Well, that's a question which everyone should ask themselves, and we should really try and find the answers for ourselves also. Okay, I'm not here to preach or to dictate to anyone on how we should be living or how one should be living their life, but I will say that we do live in a culture where we fall short of the mark, unfortunately, and this is because of our emotional attachments. We are emotionally attached to a lie, unfortunately, and a deception. And this is not a judgment on anyone. This is an observation. And, you know, I've researched this for a very long time now. The past 8 years, I've studied and researched how we've been affected by the society as a whole, religion, the media, education, and so forth. They all have a part to play in this deception and this lie that we're living in. One of the problems in our current and modern culture is our love for material items, our desire to keep up with what's new and fashionable. Even though religion is still a big part in some people's lives, in my observation and experience, these religionists amongst us also fall victim to the attachments of material items. I'm not saying here to throw away all your computers, your phones, your TVs, your shoes, your clothes. I'm not saying to throw these away at all. What I'm saying is that our wants have definitely outweighed our needs. So half, if not most, of the things we purchase we don't really need, but the TV in our society tells us that we should get more than what we need, and we are pressured to keep up with the latest gadgets, and on a subconscious level, some even consciously think we are not good enough if we don't have the latest this or the latest that. The media basically tells us that we suck. We suck because we don't have the latest iPhone. We suck because we don't have the latest BlackBerry. We suck because we haven't got a 3D TV. Because we don't attempt to look like the celebrities who are prancing around on stage half naked. We suck because we are worthless and ugly because we don't look like these guys, you know. And the truth is not the TV. If we really want the truth, we will never find it in the TV. Never. So we need to look beyond the TV. We need to start looking within. And I'll go into that a bit later on when we really go into the chakras. And that's what I'm talking about looking within. But if you don't want to know the truth and would prefer to live a lie and be deceived, then that's fine. No one can force anybody, but there will come a time, I believe, where we will be forced to make a decision whether we want to attain a high level of consciousness or continue to be materialistic. But unfortunately, I think the material time will come to an end because the planet cannot sustain such greed. So basically, you have people constantly telling you that you suck. So we go out, we buy the latest add-ons to make sure that we don't suck anymore, so that we can keep fitting in. What a shame. This is very controversial, I know, but it's something I've observed, and some of the reasons why we are failing economies, relationship breakdowns, poverty, wars, teenage pregnancies, and generally a decaying society. And believe me, I could go on and on what's wrong in society, but you know, I don't really want to go harp on about the wrongs about society, but I think it's important that we take a look at them, analyze them, and try and turn them into something positive. We can come out of this rut that we're in, even though some of us don't find ourselves in a rut, but believe me, we are. So this is how the want desire process works. We live in a materials economy, which I call the 5 stages of self-destruction, where we extract from the earth, produce what we have extracted via a chemical process, distribute it to the masses so that we can consume and then dispose of, causing an environmental problem in the process, dumping it in seas, the plastics and all the other materials, and then it gets shipped off to the coast of Asia, the coast of Africa, where they get diseases from these substances. The fish also, the wildlife, are suffering also. But who really cares about this? We need to start caring. And when I say we, I say it because of our participation and contribution to this madness, and that there are limits that we have not taken into consideration, and we can't keep extracting from the earth and producing things just for the sake of profit. Eventually, things will come to an end, to a point where we have run out of resources and destroyed lands in return. By this process, we are destroying our planet and our natural way of being, and it could result in devastating consequences. So the question is, who's to blame? Should we take some of that blame? I think we should. We have to take some of that blame also, as I said earlier, because of our contribution in this mass consumerism. We've helped build up these large corporations, but they've used tactics to lure us into buying their products with their slick advertising and even sometimes subliminal messages thrown into the mix. You get these subliminal messages, slick advertising in movies, TV shows, not just adverts. And these corporations use psychoanalysis techniques to hypnotize us into becoming mass consumers. There is a great documentary called The Century of the Self, and we do a presentation on this actually. It was Edward Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew, who devised methods to manipulate the masses into becoming mass consumers. Check out the documentary. It's called The Century of the Self, and it was actually on BBC a few years ago, so it's quite interesting. And also you can read more on the techniques of manipulation in my book, I'm a Fool, You're a Fool. That's one of the titles I'm playing with, as I said. The chapter's called Psychological Manipulation is the Root of Consumerism. I may even post a bit of that on Facebook or in WordPress or something, so you can have a look at that. Okay guys, I'm just going to leave it there for now. I'm going to come back and do a part 2, go into the topic of God and why we don't believe in God anymore, and why it is we don't have or really want to have that higher connection with that higher intelligence, whatever you call it, God, the divine, whatever. So yeah, next one will be the topic of God. Okay, thank you for listening, and subscribe to my channel, Skidan4real. Subscribe to my other channel also, Consumer Exploitation. Roston Blues channel. Facebook, SCEM. Sexual and Consumer Exploitation in Mainstream Music and Media. Music of the Spheres. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.